Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobby Capucci, and this is a bit of breaking news about one of our really good friends of the show, right? Prince Andrew. We really love him around here. He's really been honest and forthcoming, and he really seems to be the kind of person that you would want to look at a royal and say, hey, that's what the epitome of a royal should be, right? Yeah, I know, that's a little bit of a stretch, right? So our buddy Prince Andrew sat down with the BBC and had a bit of a tell-all interview. So they've released a part of it, and we're going to go ahead and see what the Daily Mail has to say about this. The story just broke about an hour and a half ago. So we're going to see what the Daily Mail has to say about it, and then later on tonight we will still have the Daily Drop, and if anything new breaks on this or if there's any more context provided, we'll throw that in as well. But let's jump right into the article and see what it has to say. The headline is, I let the side down. Prince Andrew tells BBC he was wrong to stay with Jeffrey Epstein, but has no recollection of meeting billionaire pedophile slave who says she had sex with him 3 times. Prince Andrew has admitted he let the Queen and the royal family down by becoming involved with a pedophile billionaire. Well, that's kind of an understatement. What do you think? You let the Queen down? Really? What about the people who were abused? Maybe you let them down, buddy. In a make-or-break TV interview about the scandal, he said he regretted going to stay with Jeffrey Epstein in New York after the financier's release from prison on child sex offenses. Yeah, probably not the best idea there, Princey boy. The problem was the fact that once he had been convicted, I stayed with him, he told the BBC's Emily Matlis. That's the bit I kick myself for on a daily basis because it was not something that was becoming of a member of the royal family, and we try and uphold the highest standards and practices, and I let the side down. Simple as that. Who cares about the royal family? It's not conduct becoming of a human being. Never mind the royal family. Or slide your royal blood out of it, homie. Nobody cares, dude. You're the unwanted royal. You're Tyrion. Your family views you as Tyrion, my man. You're not getting Casterly Rock, understood? The Queen, if these were the old days, you'd have a riding accident, bro. You'd get Robert Baratheon on the next hunt. Andrew also again rejects the claim by one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Roberts, that he had sex with her when she was 17. The prince says he does not even remember meeting Miss Roberts, despite the existence of a photograph showing him with his arm around the teenager's bare waist alongside Epstein's alleged madam, Lady G. Maxwell. Wait a minute. So there's pictures of you with your arm around this girl, right? And you say you have never met her? Probably not the best idea. You could say you didn't have any kind of relations with her, perhaps, because nobody has that evidence except for her, right? Or whatever files we come up with, but you could argue that case. What you can argue, Mr. Princey Sausage Fingers boy, is the fact that you've met this young lady. Oh, you've met her. And it seems to be that you've done a little more than meet her, sir. All right? I really hope as this interview goes along that they ask you some hard questions. Like a follow-up question probably was in order when you said, oh, I shouldn't have hung out with Epstein. That's below the standards of royalty after his conviction, especially. Look, dude, so why did you do it? What was the purpose? Why were you there? Why'd you fly across the pond to go talk to him, to break up with him, as if that's what men do? She says she met you in 2001. She says she dined with you, danced with you at Tramp nightclub in London. She went on to have sex with you in a house in Belgravia belonging to Maxwell, your friend. Your response, asks Miss Mateless. Sorry, a bunch of pictures. I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady, none whatsoever, Andrew replies. You don't ever remember meeting her, the interviewer asks. No, Andrew firmly states. Jeffrey Epstein was found unresponsive at around 6:30 a.m. in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center on August 10, 2019, a month after his arrest. Prison staff were unable to revive him. He was then rushed to the infirmary inside the jail. From there, he was placed in an ambulance and taken to New York Presbyterian Lower Manhattan Hospital, where doctors pronounced him dead. Since Epstein's suicide, allegedly, there has been widespread speculation as to how he managed to kill himself after an earlier failed attempt to take his own life weeks earlier. Prison procedure dictates that an inmate goes through a screening process to determine if they are at risk of harming or killing themselves. Critics, including his brother, have suggested he was bumped off. Mark Epstein says he has seen no evidence to support the New York City medical examiner's conclusion that his brother committed suicide. He added Jeffrey knew a lot of stuff about a lot of people. We know that, right? Especially considering we know what he was up to around these parts, right? We know that he was running a blackmail situation. We know that he was running a honey trap. We know that he was getting these guys involved in these sexual dalliances so that he could use this information to get what he wants out of them, out of powerful people, to squeeze the powerful people. And these so-called elites were stupid enough to walk right into the trap. According to royal sources, the program makes for uncomfortable viewing at times, but they say is a no-holds-barred discussion of the Epstein case. For those of you listening out there who are familiar with the English press, I'm not really a professional when it comes to the English press. I wonder, for those of you in England, send me some email, and the email address is bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBY Capucci, CAPUCCI, @protonmail.com. Send me some information about this newscaster, this mateless lady. Is she biased? Who is she comparable to here in the United States? Filmed on Thursday, the Mail understands that over 45 minutes, the Queen's son was machine gunned with questions about everything from his family to his sex life in excruciating detail. The palace did not ask for any questions to be submitted in advance. I don't know about that. And no assurances were given. One of those present claimed the Queen's normally rather pompous and garrulous son was surprisingly humble and candid. Oh boy, this is getting too rich. So basically, what this interview is to rebuild his image, right? I'm being honest. I'm coming out and I'm going to talk to the media. That's all fine and well, but the media can only prod you so far. You have the best people prepping you for these interviews, the best people money can buy. You're the Prince of England. There's nothing that you can't access. Matlis doesn't pull her punches, and people were wincing slightly at times, but he didn't shy away from answering a single question, said one. All right, good. Well, I can't wait to watch the actual interview as opposed to just read the transcript so we can see the way the questions were asked, his facial features, his reactions. Those are all important things. We can only get so much from the written word, right? It is highly unusual for a member of the royal family to speak about something so personal and controversial in a one-on-one interview. Only the late Diana, Princess of Wales, and Prince Charles, both speaking about their failed marriage, have done so. Both programs were considered disastrous for the monarchy. Well, let's be real. This is a way bigger scandal than anything that happened with Princess Di or with Prince Charles. This is a way bigger scandal and it has far more ranging implications. Prince Andrew was top of the heap, top of the elite heap. And here he is, supposedly and allegedly, raping young girls that were provided to him by the world's biggest sicko. Something to be proud of over there. Andrew, long believed to be the Queen's favorite son, informed his mother about the interview in advance, and he was, apparently, given her blessing. Yeah, I'm sure he was. I'm sure the Queen doesn't want to believe that her son's this kind of depraved pervert. And to be honest with you, I bet you Andrew was trapped into it the first time. And then after that, whatever's whatever. He doesn't seem to be the brightest guy in the world. From what we've read about him and from the things we've seen about him, he does not seem to be the brightest man in the world. He's always seems to be kind of doot-a-dootish, yeah? So I think the Queen probably wants to believe that he didn't do this, right? But a lot of mothers want to believe that their sons aren't sick and depraved or their daughters aren't sick and depraved, but here we are. A source close to the prince said he wouldn't do anything without discussing it with without discussing it with Her Majesty first. Well, she's the Queen, right? He has to run it by her. A Buckingham Palace spokesman added, the Queen is aware of the interview. Once again, I'm sure she is. That doesn't mean that it's going to be good for the prince or the royal family. As they just stated in the article, the Princess Diana interview was a disaster, and so was the Prince Charles interview. Now you have even something more explosive, and I have a funny feeling it is not going to be good for the prince. It is the first time the prince has been publicly grilled about his friendship with the American sex abuser who was found dead in his New York prison cell in August while awaiting trial for sex trafficking. He has been dogged by the scandal since 2010 when he was photographed visiting the disgraced Wall Street money man in New York following Epstein's release from jail following a conviction for prostituting minors. Once again, that was the sweetheart deal, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Everybody knew what Jeffrey Epstein was. Everybody knew that he caught a sweetheart deal, especially someone like Prince Andrew. But yet Prince Andrew went back to his house and still hung out with him. Let that sink in, folks. Juxtapose that with what's going on today in this country, with what's going on in that impeachment hearing, with what's going on with Roger Stone. Again, I have to bring it up with Edward Snowden. All right? Julian Assange. These are people that should be protected, but they're thrown under the bus by the establishment because they have shed light on the ill and disgusting behavior that permeates from the top of these organizations. He lost his job as a roving UK trade ambassador as a result of the outcry. Oh, boo-hoo. I'm pretty sure that Virginia Roberts and the rest of the gals lost a little bit more. All right? So save the crocodile tears and playing the world's smallest violin. Nobody cares. Nobody feels bad for you, princely boy. All right? Nobody cares. You're going to go home and roll around in your money, your ill-gained money like Scrooge McDuck later on. Nobody cares that you lost your ambassador's job as the UK rover. Nobody cares. Since then, the prince has been forced to deny claims by Epstein's teenage sex slave, Miss Roberts, that she was flown to London on the billionaire's jet, the Lolita Express, for sex with the prince. She claims Miss Maxwell told her, "I want you to do for him what you do for Epstein." Miss Roberts, now a 35-year-old mother, alleges that it was one of 3 occasions she was forced to have sex with the prince, which also included an orgy at Epstein's home in the U.S. Virgin Islands. In the face of the prince's denials, she has said he knows the truth and I know the truth, and recently said he deserves to be sent to prison. Well, I have to tell you what, if he is guilty of what she is accusing him of, and she does seem to have a lot of evidence, if he is guilty and he can't prove that he wasn't involved in this stuff, he deserves to go to prison. I don't care who you are, what rung of society you're on, the lowest of beggars or the richest of Enron employees. When it's time to pay the piper for doing something illegal, you better pay the piper. All right? And even in the Enron case, even in that Enron case, even though people went to jail, we all know that it wasn't the people who should have went to jail, right? Who else was involved in that case? Again, the rich and elite, where the money really is, those people are never held to account. Buckingham Palace has always called the allegations false and without any foundation, saying any suggestion of impropriety with underage minors was categorically untrue. Miss Maxwell has always denied being involved in a sex trafficking network run by Epstein. This week's bombshell interview took place in the Grand South drawing room of the palace. It's quite raw and it's emotional, a source said. But he doesn't shy away from answering anything, and I mean anything, and hopes this honesty will enable him to draw a line under things once and for all. Once again, it's all about his image. He doesn't care that Epstein hurt these girls. Has he come out and said, who are these girls? I want to talk to them face to face. None of that. Because he understands and he knows what he has done according to Virginia Roberts. He doesn't come off as an innocent man to me. I'm sorry. I got one of those feelings that this guy is a lot deeper involved in this than he is willing to admit. Privately, palace officials admit that Andrew's decision to allow himself to be questioned on television is a huge gamble and may all go horribly wrong. Well, from this one transcript, I haven't watched it, like I said, but from this transcript I'm reading, it looks like it went horribly wrong. It looks like a disaster for this guy. It looks like all he's doing is trying to fix his image. No accountability. There's never accountability. Only for me and you. But one insisted there's 2 narratives about the Duke. The first, that he is some sort of horrible, seedy person. The second, from those who actually know him, that he is decent, honorable, kind, and is continually being crucified for mistakes he has already held his hands up to. He has honestly, straightforwardly addressed some difficult questions, and hopefully that authenticity will allow people to see the real narrative. No. What you're trying to do is change the narrative. That is not going to occur. All right? I believe Virginia Roberts. I'm allowed to believe whoever I want. I live in America. The royals have zero power over me. They could say what they want, think what they want. I could care less about any of them. We hammered you in 1776, and if you try any nonsense, we'll hammer you again. I don't see the whole royal thing. It's not a big deal to me. Andrew is just another human being who puts his socks on the same way as any of us. I don't want to see this. I don't care about him rebuilding his image, all right? It is understood that Andrew is emphatic in his denials when he is asked by Matlis whether he had sex with Miss Roberts. The prince will also claim that he visited Epstein in the States in 2010 only to tell him that he could no longer have any contact with him because he felt this was the honorable thing to do. Are you effing kidding me? That's the honorable thing to do? To go tell him that you guys can't be friends anymore? You guys were that close? Sounds like two guys that might have been involved in some criminal activity to me. Sounds like two guys that might have been involved in an orgy together to me. Not normal. This is not normal, folks. A member of Miss Roberts' legal team, Jack Scarola, said he would like the prince to submit to an interview under oath instead of giving statements to the media that carry little weight. He said there was an FBI investigation into those involved facilitating Epstein's abuse, and Andrew would be a key witness. Bing, bang, boom. Under oath, Andrew. Until you do it under oath, all you're doing is going around trying to rebuild your image. It's an image tour. All right? It's embarrassing, and it's galling that you think it'll work. It will not work. And he's still saying he can't remember this. The infamous photograph of Prince Andrew smiling as he stands with his left arm around the waist of young Virginia Roberts has dogged him for years. Both the photo and the claims made by the young American that she had sex with the prince and society hostess Ghislaine Maxwell's central London home refused to go away. Miss Roberts maintains the photograph was taken in March 2001 when pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, Miss Maxwell, and Andrew returned to Miss Maxwell's Mews house after dinner and a visit to Tramp nightclub in Mayfair. Tramp nightclub, folks. All right, and this is an underage girl, by the way. Why is she going to a nightclub? Miss Roberts, who was 17, said the group went upstairs, and it was then that she asked Epstein to take a shot of her with the divorced prince. Miss Maxwell is in the background. She later revealed she wanted to show the photograph to her mother, and after the picture was taken, Epstein and Miss Maxwell left the pair alone. Today, the prince will tell Newsnight's Emily Maitlis he does not recall meeting Miss Roberts. The clear implication from his answer on the BBC is, therefore, that the photograph is a fake. Okay, so right there, that's going to be all the evidence we need. Once these photographs are confirmed again for the 10th time that they're real, your whole entire story's out the window, buddy. This is a key component of your defense. Do you think this would hold up in a court of law? In recent months, Andrew's friends have tried to discredit the photograph, with some saying it has been doctored on a computer. Andrew is seen dressed in dark trousers and a light blue shirt with several buttons undone and the sleeves adorned with cufflinks. This was a look he favored at the time. Only a few months earlier, a photograph was taken of the prince in almost exactly the same clothing. Sources close to Andrew have also claimed his fingers don't look right in the photograph. However, Andrew has chubby fingers, and in a shot taken of him at around the same time, this appears to be the case. His fingers in the shot with Miss Roberts also look remarkably similar to the other photos from the time. Sources close to Andrew question his height relative to Miss Roberts. The prince is around 6 foot, while Miss Roberts is said to be around 5'8". The picture does seem to reflect this. There is clearly the sight of a flash as the shutter button was pressed by Epstein, and the style of the window matches Miss Maxwell's then home. Photographic experts point out that the practice of manipulating images was in its infancy when the picture was taken. He's betting everything on a last spin of the wheel, and the stakes could not be higher. And crucially, Richard Kay asks if Andrew can sit down with the BBC, will he be willing to face questions from the FBI? Prince Andrew's judgment of the distinct lack of it has long been an integral part of his character. All too often, a reckless self-indulgence has obscured his other qualities, being well-meaning and trying to put his best foot forward. Trying to put his best foot forward while still hanging out with a convicted pedophile? It's unbelievably shallow to think anyone's believing this. His decision, therefore, to give a no-holds-barred interview to the BBC about his friendship with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and crucially the claims that he had sex with a teenage girl, is more than just an air-clearing exercise. It is the act of a gambler, and the stakes could not be higher. I agree with that. This is an all-in move by the prince. He understands what he's facing here, and it's telling that he would go to the media first as opposed to the authorities, or at least to the accuser's lawyers as a witness. For make no mistake, by sitting down and answering questions from Newsnight's formidable presenter Emily Maitlis, Prince Andrew is putting his reputation on the line, or lack thereof reputation on the line. The omens for such television confessionals are not good. Neither Princess Diana unburdening herself to Panorama, nor Prince Charles opening up to Jonathan Dimbley were anything other than unintentional acts of self-harm. Both are remembered chiefly for their acknowledgement of mutual acts of adultery. If candor alone sufficed, then Andrew's remarkable admission that in his foolishness he had let the Queen down will be the standout moment from tonight's broadcast. This is the gambling equivalent of betting the house on the last spin of the roulette wheel, and Andrew has put it all on black. Like I said, pushing it all into the center of the table. While the BBC is naturally patting itself on the back for pulling off this great scoop, the Prince will be nervously wondering if this undoubtedly courageous decision was the right one. And like I said, this is tough. This is going to be rough for the Prince. He better come off right, because if he thinks people like us are hard on him, wait till the FBI and Chuck Cooper get their hands on this stuff. So why did he do it? Quite simply, he felt he had no alternative. For months, the rumors and gossip about Andrew and Epstein and the explosive allegations from Virginia Roberts that she had been flown to London to have sex with the Prince have hung around the Duke of York like a bad smell. Far from ending the speculation, Epstein's death at his own hand, allegedly, in a New York prison cell in August, served only to revive the sordid stories of orgies, massage parlors, and a private jet nicknamed the Lolita Express. One story in particular persisted, the claim from Roberts that she and Andrew had sex together on no fewer than 3 occasions. And then, of course, there was the apparently compromising photograph of the Prince, his arm around the bare midriff of the then 17-year-old girl. Ever since these stories first surfaced, when prosecutors in the U.S. finally got to grips with Epstein's disgusting activities, Andrew has relied on the usual sources to distance himself. And that's what he's done, right? He's had his surrogates come out and answer for these allegations while he's hidden behind the Queen's skirts. The allegations said friends were preposterous and untrue, but the arrest of the billionaire financier this summer against the background of the Me Too movement dramatically changed the optics. Andrew's standing and even his ability to function as a working member of the royal family were under threat. In September, it was reported that at least one of the Prince's official engagements during a visit to Northern Ireland had been cancelled because of concerns that the Epstein affair would overshadow it. You know what? And it should. Nothing this guy does should be more important than what he did. He needs to be questioned under oath, by the FBI, by the lawyers. He began to aggressively counterpunch. Senior palace sources categorically denied Roberts' claim, pouring scorn on her assertion that she and Andrew had drunk cocktails together in Tramp, the West End nightclub. They pointed out that the Duke doesn't drink. However, in Roberts' original testimony, she said, Andrew got me a cocktail from the bar and he had a drink for himself. Okay, yeah, so he doesn't drink. How do we know that that's the case? Because the people around him said so, all of his buddies? Who knows what he does in private or when he's letting his hair down? More significantly, doubts were also cast on the authenticity of the infamous midriff photograph, apparently taken in the London Mews home of Andrew's friend and Epstein's procurer of girls, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is also in the picture. Officials questioned whether the photograph had been manipulated from the fingers around the girl's waist to the discrepancy in height between the two. Andrew said AIDS had distinctively chubbier sausage fingers. They don't look right in the picture, it was said. But while all of this may have muddled the waters, the cut through and clearing the air that Andrew was hoping for did not materialize. The suspicions and innuendo would not go away, and the Duke remained on the back foot. The damage to his image was worsening by the day, and it threatened to overshadow the wider public perception of the royal family. Moreover, the drip, drip, drip of the claims was also endangering his major charity project, Pitch at Palace, in which he helps to put would-be entrepreneurs in touch with investors and mentors. Rumors circulated that some of the blue-chip companies involved were beginning to feel uncomfortable. Some of them, they should all be feeling uncomfortable. Get the hell out of this guy's orbit while you have the chance, folks, or you're going to end up on the radar. All the same, Prince Andrew did not rush into the Newsnight interview without weighing up the pros and cons. His calculations rested on this. By answering direct questions about Roberts' claims, he knew he could be accused of lying. Dramatically, he then took the bull by the horns, first consulting the Queen, not just for her permission to film the confrontation in South Drawing Room at Buckingham Palace, but also for her approval. Even so, the Duke agonized over the wisdom of doing it, pondering on what might go wrong as well as what might work. Yeah, no crap. I bet you are worried about it. How about this? People that are telling the truth don't have to be worried. If you have the truth on your side, you don't have to worry. So what are you worried about, Prince? What are you scared about, Prince? Why are you only talking to the media, Prince? We have questions in America, and when Americans have questions, we want answers. All right? In the end, his argument was simply that he had no other choice and needed to demonstrate to people that he has been telling the truth. At the same time, he knew he would have to agree to the BBC having a free-for-all in its line of questioning. Nothing would be vetted beforehand. There were no preconditions. No royal has ever undergone such rigorous cross-examination. Both Diana and Charles knew what was coming in their interviews. Andrew did not, according to sources. All right, Hillary Clinton didn't know either until Donna Brazile gave her questions for the debate, right? We don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. We have to take their word for it. And okay, so we'll take his word for it. He did not know. BBC insiders tell me they were impressed with his candor and humility. For Andrew, the questioning must have been excruciating as he was interrogated about the most intimate of matters. We are told that tonight's film comprises 50 minutes of tough, uncompromising questioning. Last night, the BBC released 2 key exchanges. One about Roberts goes like this. Mateless. She says she met you in 2001. She says she dined with you, danced with you at Tramp nightclub in London. She went on to have sex with you in a house in Belgravia belonging to Ghislaine Maxwell, your friend. Your response. Andrew, I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady, none whatsoever. Mateless, you don't remember meeting her? Andrew, no. But it will, I suspect, be the prince's response to questions about why he remained friends with Epstein that will stick in the memory. For they reveal a vulnerability and show just how affecting the allegations have been. Asked about why he continued to see Epstein after his release from prison, Andrew admits he was wrong, saying, I kick myself for it on a daily basis because it was not something that was becoming of a member of the royal family, and we try and uphold the highest standards and practices, and I let the side down, simple as that. Again, all right, to reiterate, we don't care about what the standards are for royals. How about basic human decency? How about having some basic human decency, huh? A 16-year-old girl was raped by this guy and supposedly you. And this is the first time you're answering for it, and you still went and hung out with your buddy Epstein after he was convicted? Look, buddy, the onus is on you, okay? Not on anybody else. We have questions, that's all. Questions that need to be asked. Questions that need to be answered, but under oath. For the prince, the whole nerve-shredding exercise has been to show that he has nothing to hide, that he has been wholly honest and truthful. In a way, says a friend, he is saying, judge me. Everything else had failed. He had no alternative. And that's exactly what we plan on doing, right? We're going to judge you on your words, on what you say, and how you conducted yourself. Because words are wind. Anyone can say whatever they want. The way you conduct yourself is really the proof in the pudding. Now the judgment rests with the British people. But as brave as Prince Andrew's decision has been to speak out, some no doubt will say that if he is prepared to sit down with the television cameras, he should surely now be prepared to subject himself to the questions of the New York Police Department and the FBI. Point blank, period. That's how we feel. That's our stance here on the Jeffrey Epstein Show. That's my stance. If you could sit down with the media and answer these questions, you need to sit down with the FBI, and at the very least, you have to be a witness. If not, you've enabled him. And if this was a RICO case, well, you'd be in big trouble there, Princeling. Here's a timeline of the Duke's relationship with Epstein. 1999. Andrew first meets Epstein, reportedly introduced through his friendship with Ghislaine Maxwell, the daughter of newspaper tycoon Robert Maxwell. Andrew welcomes Epstein to the Queen's private Scottish retreat in Aberdeenshire. Andrew later says he sees Epstein infrequently, adding probably no more than once or twice a year. 2000. Andrew and Miss Maxwell are seen on holiday with Epstein at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago Club in Palm Beach, Florida. Epstein and Miss Maxwell attend a party at Windsor Castle hosted by the Queen to mark Andrew's 40th birthday, Princess Royal's 50th, and Queen Mother's 100th, and Princess Margaret's 70th. Okay, so he's close enough that he's invited to the Queen's big celebrations. Guess what? Plebeians like you and I aren't invited to anything like that. We're nothing to them. We're to be swept under the rug. 2001, Virginia Roberts claims to have had sex with Andrew 3 times, including one orgy, with the first encounter allegedly taking place in Miss Maxwell's London townhouse. Miss Roberts claims to have had sex with Andrew on 2 more occasions, at Epstein's New York home and at an orgy on his private island in the Caribbean. 2008, Epstein admits to prostituting minors and is sentenced to 18 months in prison. We all know, sweetheart deal. I'm not going to beat a dead horse there and revisit that. We all know what he was really doing. 2010. Epstein is released from jail. Andrew is photographed with the disgraced Epstein in New York Central Park. Footage emerges years later, reportedly shot on December 6, 2010, showing him inside Epstein's Manhattan mansion from where he is seen looking out from a large door of the property, waving a woman goodbye after Epstein leaves to get into a chauffeur-driven car. Why are you there? You're the prince. You could have any room in New York City, probably comped to you, but yet you're staying with a convicted pedophile after he was just released from prison. You sure are really making your case here with your actions, sir. 2011. The Duke quits his role as UK trade envoy after the fallout from the Central Park photos. 2015. Buckingham Palace denies Andrew has committed any impropriety after he is named in U.S. court documents related to Epstein. A woman, later named in reports as Miss Roberts, alleges in papers filed in Florida that she was forced to have sex with Andrew when she was 17, which is under the age of consent in the state. At the World Economic Forum in Davos, Andrew, in his first public engagement since he was embroiled in the allegations, responds saying, "Firstly, I think I must and want, for the record, to refer to the events that have taken place in the last weeks. I just wish to reiterate and to reaffirm the statements that have already been made on my behalf by Buckingham Palace. In April, the claims against Andrew are struck from U.S. civil court records following a federal judge's ruling." Yeah, protecting your boy, huh? Yeah, they weren't pertinent to the case. My rear end, pertinent. I got your pertinent right here, Your Honor. Another activist judge that's probably in the pocket of the royals and the rest of them. 2019. Newly released legal documents show that Johanna Sjoberg, another alleged Epstein victim, claimed Andrew touched her breast while sitting on a couch inside the U.S. billionaire's Manhattan apartment in 2001. Buckingham Palace said the allegations are categorically untrue. Epstein is found dead in his jail cell on August 10th, allegedly having killed himself after being charged with sex trafficking. Later that month, a pilot on Epstein's private jet claims Andrew was a passenger on past flights with the financier and Miss Roberts. The Sun newspaper reported that David Rogers said in a testimony released in August that Epstein, Andrew, and the then 17-year-old traveled to the U.S. Virgin Islands on April 11, 2001. Bing, bang, boom. You have the pilot of Epstein's jet saying that he flew Prince Andrew, Virginia Roberts, and Epstein on that jet. All right? So, Andrew, you have a lot of people, 2 witnesses saying you're wrong. I'm supposed to believe you? Just your word? Buckingham Palace describes the evidence statement as having a number of inconsistencies and said that Andrew was on a different continent in some cases. Following Epstein's death, a statement from the palace says that Andrew is appalled by the recent reports of Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes. Breaking his silence on the issue for the first time since 2015, Andrew then releases a statement on August 24th saying, "At no stage during the limited time I spent with him, Epstein, did I see the witness or suspect any behavior of the sort that subsequently led to his arrest or conviction." Mark Epstein fears that he and his children will be murdered like he claims his brother Jeffrey was after the sham suicide probe. A defiant Mark Epstein is lashing out at federal officials in the wake of his brother Jeffrey's death. In a rare interview with Julie Brown of the Miami Herald, Mark says that the investigation into his brother's suicide was both incomplete and inconclusive, making it impossible to determine his cause of death. Mark also reveals that even he also seen no evidence to support the New York City medical examiner's conclusion that his brother committed suicide and cannot think of a single reason why the pedophile would have taken his own life. Wow. All right, so that's bleeding into a different article. And I think what they're trying to get to with that is, are they trying to say that it could be the prince? I don't know. I'll finish reading it, even though it's a little bit off track. He now says that he fears he or his family members could be targeted by the same individuals who may have wanted Jeffrey dead, and implores those implores those who so quickly label the death a suicide to take another look at the case. It's all very suspicious. Too much to be a coincidence, says Mark. In the interview, Mark makes it clear that he cannot accept the idea that his brother would want to take his own life. I could see if he got a life sentence, I could then see him taking himself out, but he had a bail hearing coming up, explains Mark. He later goes into more detail, arguing he had a bail hearing in 2 days. He agreed to be on house arrest. He was going to hire armed guards to keep an eye on him at his own expense. Mark then adds, he was the most recognizable person on the planet. Where is he going to run and hide? At the same time, it is unclear how he would be able to make that determination given his own description of the relationship he had with his with Jeffrey prior to his death. Jeffrey and I were not that close. We shared brother stuff, but I was not involved in what he was doing, reveals Mark. Well, yeah, that's a good thing. Jeffrey and I, when he first got into trouble, he called me. We were very straight with each other. I wasn't going to lecture him. 3 months after his death, officials still have not released any details at all about the case. This has left Mark concerned that he and his children could suffer a fate similar to Jeffrey's at the hands of a person or persons that officials have no interest in trying to identify. Jeffrey knew a lot of stuff about a lot of people, notes Mark. Wow. All right. So, there you have it, folks. There you have it. The first edition of the Prince Andrew BBC interview, the transcripts from it. I guess the rest will be dropping tonight or tomorrow. And once those drop, we will definitely be all over those, bringing them to you so you are on top of the case like usual. Like I said, I'll have a daily drop coming tonight as well. We'll cover some different things that are going on in the case. It's been a relatively steady news day in this case. And yeah, I just, I want to, again, thank everybody for joining me. Thank everybody for downloading the show. Thank everybody for the awesome emails. Shout out to one of the listeners from the show, Leanne. She sent in an awesome email. She's definitely the kind of listener I think a lot of you folks are on this show. Eager for knowledge, people that want the truth, right? And look, I don't have all the answers. I certainly don't have all the answers. I'm a flawed individual. We're all flawed individuals. None of us know everything. So if I miss anything on these daily drops, or there's something you want to add, shoot me an email. The email address once again is bobbycapucci@protonmail. Shoot me an email and let me know what's up. If you have a different angle on this case, if you see something differently, if I've missed an article, if there's something you want me to cover, any of it, or if you just, there's something you want to chat about the case or the news and whatever, shoot me an email. That's what that email address is there for. Gonna have some cool stuff coming up for some of the listeners. Definitely some giveaways, and we're thinking about. I'm definitely gonna do an end of year fundraiser for the show as well to try and provide some more funding so that we can do some different things. Try and get to New York in January for some of these cases and that sort of thing. All right, folks, I'm really happy that everybody's joined me again. It's Friday. Hope everybody's going to enjoy their weekend. Got some big football games coming up tomorrow. And you know what time it is. I'm going to be here every single day, rain, sleet, or shine, no matter what, following this case wherever it leads. Thanks again for being here with me, and I will talk to you guys in a few hours with the daily drop.